Hello, my name is Busisiwe Nomaswazi Gunene, and welcome to another installment of Precious Moments. This month we celebrate women of substance, hard-working women in various sectors and industries. And today it is an honor for me to welcome Phinah Kodisang. Thank you so much for agreeing to meet with us and spend some precious moments with us. I know we called Phinah last minute because, things happen in the media industry. Yes, we will not go further, but she's here now.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Phinah, where do we start? Tell us about Phinah, where she grew up, her aspirations, family background, any bundle of joys.
So, Kimanyana Kasi, right?
Yeah.
Grew up in Garangua, born and bred there. Even did my primary schooling up until high school in Garangua. I only started venturing out Hagea tertiary. So I'm a mother of two, adults, by the way.
Yeah.
Banali Pasabali too. A baby boy, I still call him my baby, and a baby girl. 28 and 18. So you can imagine.
No. A dial co-parents.
Yes. Because I like telling this story because I want to inspire someone.
Yeah.
I became a mother at the very tender age of 19, right? And that moment in my life became sort of a transition into, okay, now I have a new life that I'm responsible for. I can't be playing games.
Yes.
I need to make sure that I get a job, I do this, I do that. And I have really followed through, because for me, the end goal is this life that didn't ask to be brought into earth, has to have a soft life.
Yes.
That child can't suffer because of me. They didn't put in an application. So as much as I was driven, but I think the birth of my daughter became a turning point for me in terms of, okay, so what is my purpose? I had to dig deep to find the purpose. And as much as I do other things that I love, I think my children drive my purpose in life.
Yeah, the bundle of joys, ultimately we end up, living, working, aspiring, and doing all these things for them. I like the fact that you say they did not put in an application to be on this. My son must not watch this episode because it's like, Mama, tennis is Phinah. So you're from, after giving birth to Bundle of Joys, in terms of your career space, where did you start? I mean, Phinah is the CEO of the Soul City Institute, yes, by the way, and a really blondie, so please, you got to respect.
God are those days where they think blonde means dull head and whatever,
Exactly.
Redefining blonde. So, look, growing up in Garangua, one of the two narratives that I think still continues growing up in Kasi is that either you're going to end up pregnant, different baby daddies, unemployed. If you are employed, not in a professional job, right?
Retail.
Yes. And the other would be you get out of that and you make something out of your life. So I've always been an advocate for this, latter one where we are not supposed to define ourselves by where we come
from,
and where we see bo auntie barona, other people, neighbors. That environment should not define us. So I've always pushed back against the narrative that says that's what happens. Especially Lusatana Model C schools. So I've been an advocate from a very young age of Kasi is not what's going to define me. It's not going to be where I end. So I had this big dream of being somewhere. And so when the opportunity came to go to university, I then went to University of Pretoria, started with political science. I thought, hey, welcome, man.
Everybody from Pretoria.
And then first year I was like, but what is this now? No. And then there was a course which was introduced. So our group was the first cohort to do development studies. At the time, they were calling it community development. Just looking at the voucher, describing this course, I thought, maybe, I want to see what can come out of it. And I remember some of the people say, community development, give volunteerism. You're going to volunteer your whole life. You're just going to be there doing volunteer work. But somehow I connected so deeply with that, to the point where in my second year, I was even appointed a tutor for other first years and other people who wanted, because I guess maybe the lecturers saw my passion. I really, when something,
I can see.
I went in with my whole being.
Because you don't want to be that pregnant girl wakokasi with 5 children with 5 different baby daddies, and then
Exactly. Look, and we are not judging those.
No, we are not.
The narrative is not that because we didn't want it, others who have it, we are then judging them, right?
I think also it does not necessarily just come from the surface, because as people you look at the surface and you find that it does not come from the surface, but it's deep rooted from possibly a history of certain emotional traumas, disappointments, and then you find that then people are not even ambitious, not because they don't want to be someone, but because of the circumstances and the root cause of whatever problems, whatever traumas, and they end up like that.
Hence, I was saying it's the narrative that is sort of normalized, right? So then I pursued a degree, and from that, I knew, because I'm going to develop the community, passion-driven. And this is how then I came to Johannesburg, because I applied, and I was very fortunate. The first job I applied for, even without management experience, they said they wanted a manager. And I said, okay, I have not managed, but I can manage.
Of course. What is management after all?
What is management after all? So I've always been that girl who dares. You notice, hi man, this I can do, this I can do. I'm going to put in my CV. Should they call me for an interview? They'll take me. So I went with that attitude that, look, I know I have not managed before, but I've done this outside of formal employment, which for me demonstrated that I can manage.
And you've got experience.
And they bought the story and gave me the job.
Kudos to them.
I appreciate it. So they gave me the job, and that's how I came into Johannesburg, right? And the workspace. And looking at everything from wanting to change the narrative, my space has always been that of advocating and looking at what is problematic in the system. Why is it this way? Why isn't it this way? What can I do to change the story from this to that? And in the different jobs I've held before coming to Soul City, that has always been the drive to say the narrative must change. Right now, my passion is we can't be telling stories of black people the way we are telling them right now. It's very problematic. Hi sebuloi, ke bofefe, ke
Ke drugs, ke violence, ke crime.
So what is it about us that we find so comfortable in telling those type of stories about ourselves? Why are we not talking about the businesses we run, the successes we have, the education we've attained? All those are important stories to tell.
And motivating stories,
right? And yet we usually choose to tell these narratives where you can have 50,000 shares, just by showing Phinah ubamgrela le monna somebody. But when Phinah is doing something, she has uplifted a community somewhere, you only have 2 shares. It's like, and really that is what I find very problematic. And I still wish there could be a turnaround, and I hope to contribute to that turnaround.
Which companies have you worked for where you've done advocacy work before coming to Soul City?
So I've worked for Center for Youth Development, which was my first job. Those people who were gracious to give me a management job without any experience. It was in Krugersdorp. We no longer have that organization, funding and many other things, but it really it launched me, into the workspace. Then I moved to World Vision, South Africa. And if you know World Vision, it does a lot of work around children, development of communities,
yes, it's like your Save the Children
exactly,
type of thing,
exactly.
your United Nations.
Yeah. And there I really got to now implement the theories that I was learning at university. And I stayed with them for quite some time. I joined them in 2003. So I graduated 2001, and in the same year, that's when I started this job in Krugersdorp, 2002-ish. Then 2003, I joined Dual Vision, and I left in 2008 to pursue. And the reason I left is because I was pursuing now a master's. So I had to go to the UK, and you can't take study leave for 18 months.
No, you cannot.
You know?
Yes.
So I was forced to resign so that I pursue a master's. When I came back...
Tell us about the UK. And your master's,
very interesting.
I mean, what's difference doing a master's in South Africa, doing a master's in the UK, and how did it come about?
Yes. I found it very efficient. I went in and I knew that at the end of the 18 months I'll come out with a master's. Whereas in South Africa, it was more, you have to do it over 3 years, you have to have a supervisor, and the stories I was hearing from a lot of colleagues who already were doing their masters is that sometimes the supervisor is not efficient, they take time to give you feedback. So I thought, that's not for me.
Yes.
So there was a scholarship that was offered at the time by Ford Foundation. And, as someone who was searching for opportunities to say, is there a scholarship? Is there a bursary? I found. In fact, the day I found it, it was the day it was closing.
Wow.
Right?
Aren't you but lucky?
No, somehow.
The universe aligned.
I am telling you, being God's favorite,
yes,
aligns your things. In fact, there's a post on my Facebook page where I had posted the application I wrote.
Yeah.
Many people typed theirs, and I thought it was going to take time. So I wrote mine. My application was handwritten.
Yeah.
Right? So all those 3-page essays,
yes,
I wrote each one of them. Because I just wanted that form to go in on time. And I was fortunate that they called me. Then I got that scholarship. I went abroad. Which also opened my eyes, because when you are outside of South Africa, one, you get to appreciate South Africa for what it is, right? But also you get to see a different culture and get to engage with people who see life very differently from you. So that outlook that I got from engaging with the global network of people who were there to do their masters as well really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And the case studies that we were doing, because I was also continuing on the same kind of platform, development.
Yes.
So I did social development, right, at master's level. You get to see government policies with a clean and fresh perspective.
Yeah.
When you are home, you problematize them, but when you're outside, you realize, and in fact, we are so advanced. Many countries don't have the type of policies we have. Yes, we struggle with implementation, but it was good to sit in class each time we are doing a case study, and South Africa is brought up as the best practice for this, the best. It makes you feel
good. It's
talking about us.
Yeah.
So really,
I'm South African.
Exactly. You wear it proudly, at that time. So it was good to really, and as I was sharing, that you then come up with, when I go back home, I don't want, for this to change, right? Because you engage with people who are saying, where we are, it takes 2 days to get to a hospital.
Sure.
Because then they live in the deep rurals, there are no ambulances. Sometimes they have to ask they hike to get to a certain place, and then the people, so you see, in fact, if we lose what we have in our country, life is going to be difficult. So you then say, how do I contribute to keeping the status quo? What is my role? What is my responsibility? And I think it's a question every one of us must ask. I know we want and we expect that government must do, but what is my role? What is my contribution? That way we feel part of whatever that we see happening that is good. Even when something is bad, we must say, where did we fail ourselves when something didn't happen.
And not point fingers.
Yeah.
And not point fingers. So tell us about your role at Soul City when you started. I know I worked, Soul City Institute was a client of mine when I was at UFM.
Okay.
I used to work at UFM as a salesperson. So I did some work with Soul City, for adverts, basically to promote the work that Soul City does.
Soul City is one of my passions.
Yeah.
The work we do there is the heart work, right? You sleep with satisfaction every night because we really are pushing the needle of making sure that young black women, young boys, men, and families, are better. They thrive. And yes, we don't win all the battles, but at least your contribution counts. So I always use the example of, I don't look at the glass, looking at this vase in front of us. You see, there's part that is
half full, half
and
empty.
So I don't concentrate on the empty part, because that will shift my focus to negativity.
Yeah.
I look at, okay, what can I do with that part that is full? And so we always operate from that perspective of, we know that we are in communities where there's a lot of gender-based violence. Young women are violated. Young boys are taught behaviors that are very toxic and problematic. And you have parents who don't see their children, instead wants to dominate and not even create an environment for them to thrive in their homes. And so you look at, but what is it that we do well as well? And we start with the things that we do well. So that we use what in development is called asset-based development, right? Not where we say, hey, no, all is going wrong, the system is failing, there's no service delivery. We go to young women and say, what do you have that you can use for your own betterment? Your drive, your dreams, that's a starting point. Let's start with pursuing those dreams. How do we help you achieve those dreams? So one of the latest projects that we are doing is a feminist leadership school with young women, fresh young women, no idea of theory, politics, and whatever. And we get to engage with them from their lived experience, right, as we unpack theory. So you take complex concepts like feminism, patriarchy, and you get to say, how does it translate? How does it, how do you see feminism in your reality? How do you see patriarchy in your reality? Then how do you turn it so that tomorrow the story is different? So I love the work that we do at Soul City. I love the position that I have in terms of giving the direction, the strategic direction. And it's not even a matter of, I'm the one who's instructing. In fact, I'm instructed a lot by my team. But I love the contribution that I am making, and at least in history books, I would have done something that somebody would look back and say, there was this period where 1, 2, 3 happened, and I'm a beneficiary of it, and at least, I'll be happy to see my name somewhere there.
Yes. I like the fact that you say, with Soul City, you look at not only women. I know you're a feminist, and I'd like you to give me your definition of a feminist, but also that, there's problems and challenges that young boys come across. And what I've realized is that currently in society, men are committing suicide more because of the pressure that they're under, whether be it pressure from losing their job and lying to their wife that they are employed, whether be a pressure of they're not bringing home the bacon like they used to or like they expected to. So I would like to propose a partnership with Precious Moments and Soul City Institute to have I'd like to call it a conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think I was talking to, I don't know if you know Linda Mazzolo. She's a PR, I call her a PR connoisseur.
Okay.
So she works mostly with, she was the production manager for Gomorrah.
Okay.
And she's also passionate about, young women, young male issues. So we were like, we need to do a conversation that addresses these issues, and we don't want a panel discussion, because a panel discussion, then you have experts sitting there and they're telling you their expertise. We need to hear from males, we need to hear from young boys, we need to hear, and people must not be afraid to open up, to say, look, Mina, I'm on the verge of committing suicide because the expectations endlessly, they are too much. Or the wife or the girlfriend or whatever having to downplay herself. I had one of my guests who said, I had to hide my payslip because I had an abusive partner. So I had to hide my payslip. I'm actually making more than what he's making. So I'd like to have that conversation, because for me, Soul City is huge and it's impactful. Remember the series, Soul City? I think we all used to sing it. City, Soul City.
Yes,
Yes. So I'd like to take it back to those days where we just have that conversation, and Soul City comes through with its expertise, and we identify different males, different females, and we have this conversation. And we invite media, because media will only come when somebody has died.
Exactly.
Somebody has been killed.
Yeah.
So let's have this conversation, saving one life at a time. Because if I'm sitting there, we'll live stream the whole conversation, and on all social media platforms, our platforms, your platforms, and whoever else that we are associated with, just so that people get to understand that the problem or the root cause is deeper than what we see on the surface.
You are right in saying the root cause is deeper, right? And it's so entrenched, because what we've done is we're looking at the symptoms, but we're not digging deep. To uprooting the problem and removing lemefero, so that we don't have a recurrence. So you asked me to speak about my feminism, right? I think that the concept of feminism is one that has been diluted, number one, but also because of the positioning of women, which becomes a threat, I believe, to men who want dominance, control, and power over women. They then create this narrative that says anyone who labels themselves feminist is a man-hater. And it's not about that, right? So let's think back to the example of apartheid, because I think it's easier for us to then understand. At the time where black people were oppressed by the apartheid system, we were all united in saying, we want our freedom. And we were all fighting for that freedom. And it was understood and accepted that black people must fight because they can't live in a system that oppresses them and ibagatella such that they can't even do anything. Right? They are not in positions. They are not living in beautiful houses. They don't own land. They don't have 1, 2, 3, and 4. The same is what feminism is. We are fighting as women who feel oppressed and who see that the system of patriarchy, which favors men, is making it difficult for us as women to live our lives freely. So if we all didn't like, being subjugated by the apartheid government, and we understood that we must fight for our liberation, we must understand when women are saying, we are tired of being subjugated by a patriarchal system that defines for me what I must dress, how many children I must have,
Yeah.
who I must marry, all those things, right? So that's what feminism is. It's a space where people are saying, we want our liberation.
Yeah.
We want to be seen as equals. We want to be afforded the same opportunities. And we need to remove barriers, and it's a joint call for men and women to do it together.
Yes.
So how do we do it together? If men, you realize that because of apartheid, because some of these privileges came with how the system was designed. The system was designed with a white man on top, a white woman underneath him, and then a black man somewhere there.
Yeah.
Right? Then you have all these other things, laws, norms, cultures, and whatever, before you even get to a woman. Right? If you think about it, it's only recently where a woman was allowed to have an account in her name if she's married.
Yeah.
Before, you would be under your husband, as if you are a child to the
Yes.
husband. So feminism is saying, let's change that status quo. Let's put everything on equal footing. If there's a job, let's not say because this is a man, he must get the
first
job.
preference. Yeah.
Let's say whoever qualifies, whether man or woman, get the job. Right? And now you see the privileges that men used to enjoy being stripped
Away from them. Yeah.
And the biggest pushback is that feeling of they are being stripped of what maybe made them men.
Yeah.
It's not that we hate them. I don't hate men.
No, I don't hate men.
You know? So, but when I fight for my space and opportunities, and you are a man who's standing in my way, I'm going to deal with that barrier.
Yes.
Right? Without having to even physically fight with you. So that misunderstanding or that narrative that is pushed, I believe, it's patriarchy trying to hold on to power, to control.
Yeah.
And because the system at the time, it was like a contract that exists where is men are the ones who must work and provide. Now, things have turned. We have employment equity, we have all these other policies and laws that says women can also be CEOs, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm a CEO, it doesn't mean you as a man in the house, if you are not a CEO, now you are no longer a man. But people then reduce themselves to titles and to all these other, things. And that is why you see this pushback. So I still put out a call to say we can do better as people if we understand that some people must give up their privileges so that they benefit others.
Yes.
And let's create that equitable space where we say we know that women are lagging behind. Because even the numbers today will tell you that we still have women as the least employed. Where they are employed, they are the least earning. You understand?
Yes.
So that imbalance is still there. And when we say let's bring the balance and make the scales balance, it can't be that it's called hating men.
Sure. Tell us about your activism journey.
Hey, where do I start?
And she lights up. Hey, comrade.
I've always, like I said, even growing up, I've always known that I need to push back against things that are wrong. So it's in church, because I grew up in church. Most people, black families, grew up in church.
Yeah.
Right? So like everybody else, I grew up in church, and I said I was a mother at 19.
Yes.
So you can imagine my first, point of pushing the narrative of gender equality is when I fell pregnant and they wanted to excommunicate me at church. And you know how they do it?
Like they
do it in such an embarrassing and humiliating way. You stand in front of the church and the pastor will say all sorts of things. This one, she went to open her legs. And I'm like, I'm not going to be subjected to that.
Yeah.
I'll be the first one to rebel if it comes to that.
Why? Which God died and made you God?
So, and I'm glad because my parents have always been these people who say you must stand up for yourself.
Yes.
Right? And they were very supportive when I said, Mama, I'm not going to stand there. You go tell the pastor that this one is pregnant. She's not going to come to church. Yeah. Right? Until she's ready.
Yes.
And then, of course, Muruti wants that satisfaction.
Yeah.
And I said, Andis.
Yeah, when the kahle sana imagine chin mfundisi soba i-director ye-movie ye-life yakho.
Andisi, where I'll be standing there and then Melibona would feel the need to say how I'm setting such a bad example for everyone. So I stayed and continued my journey with God, and in fact found myself another church. But in that moment, I realized that why is it that women are the ones who are put through this shame?
Yeah, and ostracized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why be put through such a humiliating process? Already you go through a lot of self-blaming.
Yes, exactly.
I could have done this better. All this, all that. And that time I was second year in university, right? So you're thinking, sure, my parents invested so much money. I'm such a disappointment. So already you are feeling
beating yourself up.
Exactly. You don't need. And that for me was, I do not want to see this happen to any other young woman. So in the church that I found, then I asked that we start a movement for young women in church. And the funny story is that when now this movement was growing, because I said to the pastor and the board of the church, this is solely for those who have children out of wedlock, for them to feel that they can still come back to themselves and journey, with their children to that end goal where they thrive together. And I can promise you, we were growing not because we were saying go and get pregnant so they can join us, right? But because it was falling pregnant outside of wedlock is something that still happens today. But we had space to accommodate those who would have otherwise felt like, they are the greatest sinners, they deserve to die and nobody cares. Because sometimes you are made to feel like that. And they started having problems with it. To say, this now looks like
a cult.
This now looks like we are saying we are for this. So they dismantled that. But there was so much loss because I could see later. I then moved anyway. I could see later that the young women who were now starting to see life differently being encouraged, because we would bring in psychologists, we would bring in people who would encourage them to tell them it's not the end of the road. Even if you have baby daddy issues, here's the route you can take to go look for support. Information that I believe should be shared in churches, and it's not shared. Because if we are congregating every Sunday for 3 hours, 5 hours some, that platform is a platform to be enlightened and empowered with knowledge. In the same way we did during HIV times, right? Every space became a space to do activism for HIV, for people to know that there's treatment, for people to know how to prevent getting infected. We used every space, including churches. So why are we not then investing in 30 minutes where you bring in people before we start with the preaching? Get somebody who's a social worker to say, Bomme, support. Exactly. Here's the process. Because people don't know. And even the TV shows that we have don't really give that information. I think they are there just to embarrass and to showcase how useless we can be as people, instead of really using that opportunity as a teaching moment. So I really felt, and even today I still feel the pain that, we could have gone far with many of these young women. They would have not even gone and had more children. Because they were seeing the light, man. I aspire for bigger things.
And you make mistakes and you move on.
They were starting to dream and aspire. And now, because if you have nothing else to do, I don't.
Churches ne. Hey, risatlo araba we tsare fitla go modimo. Gore modimo tlo re emisa batho one by one. Area when you are supposed to rufe batho ba ka lentswe, and the next thing when you want to play advocate of some sort. It's bad. So you were named one of the 2021 Mail and Guardian's 50 powerful women. How did that make you feel? Yes, of course.
And let's explain power,
Yeah.
because there are different powers. There's
Yeah.
powerful, there's power with, there's power over, and there's power within.
Yes.
Right? So obviously, powerful is when you say, I'm not just doing this for me,
but
community.
yes.
Right? And I really believe in that you are given a position of power not to dominate,
Yes.
but to be able to facilitate an enabling environment for others who are in your circle of influence.
Yeah.
Right? So it really made me feel seen for that award to say, you are among the 51 in South Africa. We recognize what you do, and we want to give you this recognition. So I really, really felt appreciated because I was nominated.
Yes.
To date, I don't know who nominated me.
One day you know.
But I appreciate that call that I received to say, you are a nominee, and we want to interview you. And then at the award ceremony, when my name was called, I'm like, oh, wow. Look at me.
Yes. So, looking back, what would you say have been your biggest achievements
in my leadership role?
Yeah.
Because I call my children my biggest achievement.
Yes, of course.
Being able to create other leaders. Yeah. Right? Leadership that does not reproduce leadership for me is failed leadership, because you cannot just want to be the one at the helm of the table.
Yeah.
You need to create space the same way people created space for me to come into the fold. For me, my greatest achievement is seeing women that came doubting themselves, not even believing that they can manage, ending up managing and doing so well in their management, and being inspired to say, look, I've even enrolled for a course because I feel like my next level is this.
Yes.
And they say, it's thanks to you for the mentorship and the coaching you've given me.
Yeah.
That for me is my greatest achievement.
Yeah. And in your path, any challenges where you've ever felt like, community, why something else?
I'm still wondering when the volunteerism happens. Because kuyasetshenzwa.
How did you make up?
Today nje ubona ke kenze hili, so it's because I'm coming here. Ke kenya teki.
Yeah.
Every day. But you see, for me, I think, and I remember giving my lecturer feedback, because years after, when he was retiring, they asked me to come and give a speech. Again, being singled out.
Yeah.
There's that grace.
How, as long as you keep saying, I'm God's favorite daughter, I'm God's daughter, God will always say, my daughter, my daughter. There's an assignment.
And I was saying to Prof. Krill, when we started this journey with you, for some of us it was, I just want a degree, and I will take this information and use it where I can.
Yeah.
Right? But as I entered the world, I realized that, in fact, I owe it to the people in my community to do something, whether it touches one life, it changes. You were saying one life at a time,
yes,
one story at a time, and many of us want to start with this big, and that's where we think we have failed.
Yeah.
Because your dream, yes, I want people to have big dreams, but we start with brightening the corner, Nji.
Yes.
So that then the light, as it gets bigger and bigger, you collect all these winnings. But if you want to, and most of the time when you want to start here, you don't start. I agree, you want to accumulate enough money, you want to accumulate enough knowledge, and you delay the start.
Yes.
Right? Kandi, if you say, at least where I am, just in this corner,
yes, with
the people there by the streets where I live, if I touch one life, then that life must touch another. It becomes that snowball effect, and that's why for me, starting is not a matter of what have you accumulated.
Yes.
It's what troubles you? What is it that doesn't give you sleep? That thing is your purpose, okay? It's what you must go and change, because it means it's waiting for you.
Exactly.
Why is it troubling you and not
dilly-dallying.
other people? And so I was saying to
Yes.
Prof. Grill, look, I don't know what made you decide to bring this course at the time you did, but you really have impacted many generations with this course, because I see many people who are doing, development courses. They don't just do it for the sake of. They really invest in changing lives. Yeah.
And who are your biggest motivators when you look or when you think of them? Like, when I'm studying old.
My mom, her name is Winnie. So you can imagine. She has energy ya Winnie Mandela.
Yeah.
Yabo? Ke meola ke le comrade, ke moruti.
Okay.
Each time ha ke juga ke re ba bona tsatsi le mama a tsamaile go re tshwanna go re bopha ka mo be re engwe mzalwane.
Satisfy all the friends.
Because she's active in all those spaces.
So that's where the activism part comes from.
Yes. So you grew up in a home. We grew up in a home where only comrade in J.
Yeah.
Because how the issues some pagadiri tlisiwa ka mo family, you now have to advise Mama, maybe more you can do this. And I always tell a story of how my father was a feminist, because the way he raised us was not the thing of umanyana, and therefore he has always said, in fact, nagena bashimane. So Lona, nothing is going to stop you. Oh, who changed the globe? He taught us to do it.
Yes.
Even today, I paint my own house, right?
Wow.
Ke rata change. So anke ke patela bo ho penta. Okay, get it. The DIY is my thing, because it was instilled.
Yes.
You move it this way. So I think both my parents. My father is late right now, 11 years ago, but his lessons and his affirmations, his love, his feminism still stays with us today as his children. Who is the Senor.
I think he's watching over you, and he's still now and again he taps that button.
Exactly.
Move it. And as we celebrate Women's Month, do you think enough is being done in this country? And of course, I'm going to say by because everybody runs to government for everything. About like 350 ki government, metsi ki government, electricity ki government. So, do you think there's enough that is being done by government in empowering women in the country, regardless of what sector, in what field?
So my question would be, is it solely government who must do it? Because if we put that responsibility solely on government, then it will fail. Because one, the responsibility it carries, yes, it has a mandate, right, to protect, to fulfill, and to provide for our rights, so that we access all the rights we have. But it's a partnership between us and government and every other entity, so corporates and anyone, right, who benefits from the labor that people put in. So we need to then look at all these sectors and spheres and say, is government making sure that the laws of the country are enabling? Then we can say, okay, government, you've done your part. But is labor, is corporate just extracting and not investing back? Then hold them accountable for that and say you cannot just be happy with paying a measly salary and not empowering this individual. Your responsibility is also to empower them, train them, develop their skills, give them positions where they can move out of their poverty. Because you can't have somebody working for 30 years and they're still in the same position. Then something is wrong. It means we must go back to the laws and check where is the deficiency, where are the gaps in the laws that enables such extraction of skills without any investment in the skills, right? But also as individuals, we must hold ourselves accountable when opportunities are presented and we are not taking those opportunities. So I always go back to this example because for me it was such a painful realization in one of our projects, the Rise Young Women's Labs. We did what we were calling job readiness as one of the offerings within those labs. And so our role was to facilitate for young people to get trained and then placed in jobs. This young woman, she was from Hammanskraal. We then secured the interview for her. Everything was done. She just needed to show up. She says, also she didn't pitch. And then we follow up. She said, the interview was at 9. And at that time, I'm still sleeping.
Okay. Case closed. And
we're like, okay, dear. So did your sleep benefit you in any way? Yeah. Because obviously the world of work starts early. And 9 was
already
even
on your second cup of coffee or tea.
So that for me was an awakening of sometimes we are the ones who think people are uncomfortable. And they are comfortable because they're exercising their agency. In that moment, she chose to say, I'll not go to anything that requires me to come early. And tell me, where will you find that kind of an employer who says, no, come in anytime you want, we'll see.
Never.
You understand?
Yeah.
But also it's a culture shift. It's something that has been normalized, and she probably in the environment she sees that
Yes.
the whole day. So it's okay.
Yeah.
And that is why you need programs like Borais to get this culture unlearned and to learn a new culture of saying opportunities do exist.
Yeah.
It depends on, in the 24 hours that we are all given, how you then utilize
your 24
hours. So I'm saying, in answering your question, yes, government has a role, but can we then also partner with government and with other sectors, stakeholders, so that we see better results? Because if we say government alone,
how many years?
So let's do it for ourselves. In fact, Soul City before my time had a program called Kwanda, which was about communities doing better and communities feeling better. It was also on TV on SABC. Here communities were taking charge. They were not waiting. They were not saying government. The communities would say, today let's convene. Everybody, we're going to clean them because it's their space. So they were partnering, But this thing, and then and nothing comes.
Yeah. Just before we close off, how Kwanda, it brings me back to a point where kokasi if hauna mtlakatsi or hauna metsi. And we've got the CPUs or the CPF and the councillors and stuff like that. But you find communities burning tires on the road, throwing stones at cars, and because havana mutlakatsi. And I'm not sure if it's a point of not being educated, a point of not giving a damn, because whether you burn a tire, whether you hit koloya mutu ka brick, it's not going to bring the electricity back.
Yeah.
It's not going to bring the water back. There has to be a conversation. There has to be an engagement.
Yeah.
I understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Which is sad, because what you're saying, the government is not going to come, it will say matlakala. Similarly, you can burn the tire, but it's not going to bring your electricity, it's not going to bring your water. Eskom head office, go megawatt park.
A worse was when I saw a school being banned because the community was saying there's no clinic. They have to go far to get health services. But now they were banning a school. So you are taking a resource you have, which is equally important, because now you don't have a clinic and a school.
Yeah.
And that's the nature, of a disempowered community. I believe it's disempowerment, because if you are empowered, you will realize that we have a school. That's what we must secure.
Sure, yeah.
Right? Because at least this school will produce people who can help us think how we then have mobile services in the community rather than, and I get the frustration. It's frustrating to keep saying the same thing to government. Harena meiti, harena eng. But then you see how people waste water.
Yes.
They don't report best pipes. That's why I'm saying it's a partnership. It's not that now that there's someone called government, Rona Saruna is to consume and not give back. We need to give back by being responsible citizens. And responsible citizenship starts from a very young age.
Yes.
It doesn't say only when you reach 40. So the Soul Buddies, which is a program we know, is where we teach responsible citizenship to children. To say in the home, be responsible. Because some people don't care. They leave it open. You know, people throw litter everywhere. But I create a misbehave, forgetting that same litter is what will make you sick tomorrow. So honestly, there are things we should point government fingers, but there are things we should point fingers to ourselves.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Phinah, for coming through. I really enjoyed this conversation. To that camera there, any words of wisdom, any words of advice? You spoke about the Rise Women program. If there's young women watching there, how do they get involved?
Yeah. So to everyone who's watching, especially young girls, young women, the world is not going to be sympathetic to issues that you face. But you need to take charge, right, of your life. And you need to then align yourself with interventions and programs that will equip you with skills, soft and hard skills, that will create this self-actualization, where you reach the climax and where you peak, in your best possible way, right? Showing up as your best self. And we have these programs. So just go to the website, www.soulcity.org.za. We don't have them in all provinces. We are working towards having them across the 9 provinces. But there's so much that you can learn just by going to our website as Soul City. You will see, engage with us on Facebook. It's Soul City Institute. You will see so many opportunities that exist. And we are hoping that one day we will be able to come to places like Soweto and have our interventions. But nothing stops you from starting now. Don't wait for programs. Look for information. Use that 20 megabytes of your data to search programs that exist instead of just looking at gossip and other people's lifestyles that we aspire for. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Busisiwe Nomaswazigunene. This is Precious Moments, and with us today celebrating women of substance on National Women's Month is Phinah Kodisang, the CEO of the Soul City Institute. Remember to like, share, and follow our page, and also please do comment to help us grow our channel.